is also by vtester, but whereas the previous map emphasized micro unit management and learning how to select and move or attack with our units, and maybe a little secret for those of us who are already in the know, then we're going to go ahead for this one and go into learning the basics of economy, building construction, mining, and training units. So let's go ahead, without further ado, dive in to tutorial number 2. Okay, so the first thing you're going to see is that there are a lot of arrows up here. So first thing, click me. Welcome! This tutorial will teach you to construct a base, gather resources, and train an army. Hover your mouse over these tutorial stones to learn how to play. The units below are workers. They can build structures and mine gold. Before you can build an army, you will need to mine more gold. Select your workers, then right-click the gold mine to start mining. Once you have enough gold, you can build structures. Select a worker, left-click the Buildings button, or press Q. Here's a hint, press Q. Left-click the building you want to build, and left-click a location to start construction. You will need at least one house and one barracks. So we will click Q, and I like how he only sets the barracks and the build house options. If you want to do this in the editor, all units under the editor have commands, and the worker is no different. So if you simply go to the commands and get rid of or add new commands, then you can change what options they have. In this case, he merely removed the options for you to construct or build everything except houses or barracks. So without further ado, let's go ahead and build a house. There's no real best place, so we'll put it here. And I'm going to show you a trick. We're going to hold shift and left click over. This is very slick, what he did here. So let's go ahead and build another one so that we can see a little bit better what he's talking about. Houses provide population. Population is shown by the fraction in the upper right corner of the screen. You need population to train units. So this fraction up here in the top right hand side, the left hand side is your current population. That is how many people you actually have. The right hand side is supply. That's how many units you can possibly have. So, go soldiers! So, great, now you can start to train soldiers, but we have to make a barracks first. So, let's go ahead and make some barracks. Q and A, and then Q and A, and bring it over here. Select the barracks and then left click the soldier or press Q to create them. You can also right click a point on the map to have the soldiers automatically move there. What's intelligent about the way that this was done is that you can tell, if you've played the regular game, that vtester has sped up the construction speed of these. And that makes perfect sense. By speeding up the construction, it not only gets people used to seeing immediate results for what they're doing, but it also just lets the tutorial move along faster so that we don't spend as much time waiting for the buildings to construct and just idly waiting and waiting no time. You'll also notice that the speed at which we constructed these units was abnormally fast. So let's go ahead and kill these by selecting them and A, left click. We're going to micro this guy back. Micromanagement is individual control of units to get the most efficacy out of them. So what we're doing in that case is we're removing units that could suffer more damage and putting the healthier units up front. That way we're less likely to lose a unit in general. Castles can train workers using the train worker ability. You can train up to 10 workers for each gold mine to increase your income. So we currently have 6. Normally you don't want to queue up like this, but so for the sake of me going on to the next thing and the next thing, we're going to queue them up. So we have learned how to train soldiers. Continue to train soldiers until you're ready to attack. You will need several. When you are ready, destroy the Dark Tower to win. And this right here is the Dark Tower. Stephen King wasn't ready for it, apparently. So, it's a watchtower. You can modify the stats of any building in the editor by going into the building itself and either creating a new copy of an existing building or simply changing the stats or the statistics on an existing building. In this case, we can see that this tower has its image scale modified. That is, it looks larger than it actually is. I would say it's given roughly a 1.25 image scale. That way it looks physically larger than it would normally be. We're going to go over here. Yeah, and the other thing that it has up here is mana. Now, the tower that's being involved here with the mana, I'm willing to bet it's done in such a way that it has an ability that auto-casts. Once it gets to 50 mana, it auto-casts to create 3 of those skeletons to come and attack us. Those 3 skeletons are in a waypoint to naturally move towards the base and attack us. But enough about that. Let's go ahead and create 2 more dudes. They're going to build fairly quickly, and we've discovered a forge. So, the Dark Tower is too well armored for your soldiers to damage. You will need to upgrade them at this forge to destroy it. This is important. Again, we're slowly entering new pieces of information once we're confident that the player has grasped the existing concepts. Select the forge, then left-click the Upgrade Attack button on the bottom right corner of the screen, or press Q. For future reference, we're going to be using hotkeys and shortcuts as much as possible. That's because it's more efficient than clicking, trying to find, then selecting, trying to find, and moving. It's just more efficient, allows us to play more quickly, and that's important in a real-time strategy game. Now we look at the second item. It says Upgrade Attack, so instead of clicking, we're not going to click it, we're just going to press Q on the keyboard, and that's going to start upgrading. It's very important that it does, in fact, upgrade for us. Now, we're going to need another house because we are at 28 of 30, and each soldier costs 2. So we're going to go ahead and create 2 houses. They will build fairly quickly. And we're going to go get level 2 attack upgrades if we can. Notice also that for this purpose, we have made the attack upgrades slightly less expensive than they normally would be in the base game and build much more quickly. The reason for this is much the same as making the houses and the barracks and the units build faster. We want the user or the player to get to the point, to actually see what they're doing, see if it's effective or not, without being maybe confused or hampered by the speed of the game in general. So we're going to move some units around, and we're going to explore because this isn't Warcraft 3 where there are items, but I'm a big fan of exploring and finding what secrets the map maker has designed for us. So here's our first interaction with some enemy soldiers. We know how strong these soldiers are because we have soldiers of our own. Ours are slightly stronger because of their upgrades, which we will continue, by the way, to upgrade until we hit the max. Normally it's level 5. For tutorial purposes, it's slightly weaker. Also notice that even though this is, in fact, nice. That is a custom spell from the mage. This iterates once more that mages are dangerous and how they're dangerous to us. Notice that the house has the hover text here. I think that's an intentional choice. Rather than create a new house, one that has hover text and one that looks like a regular house but doesn't have hover text, the existing decision to make all of them have hover text means that any time that we encounter one, we're going to be reminded of their importance. The spell that the mage had there is not only an interesting editor trick, but also serves the purpose of making sure that we understand exactly how dangerous mages can be. It's a slight exaggeration, but not too much of one, given what we'll experience later. Oh, new units. We're going to take them out really easily because we have +3 attack. And we're going to make one more barracks because we can. We will put it here because I like it not blocking the way. Now what I'm doing when I double click all of these units is I am holding control and pressing one of them to select all units of that type, or double clicking them for the same effect. I then hold control and press 1. So I want you to notice something. I'm looking at this house. The mouse is over here. I'm not selecting anything, but since I did control 1, I can now press 1 and select all of those units. You could do this with units or with buildings. So let's go to the barracks over here. Those are on control. I selected them, held control, pressed 4, and right clicked. Now I can do 4 Q to build soldiers, tap 1 twice and A to move them, double click 4, go back to the barracks. You can see how this is pretty useful overall. So houses, and we get a priest. Hey, priest. I don't think that's quite the secret, but we're definitely going to go and try and find it. I imagine we have to kill or break something back there in order to get them. And that is precisely what we will do. This healing ward that the mage has is important, and it's already been primed into us that's useful. Think about how in the previous mission we saw that little healing area that encouraged us to step in it so that we could get some health. And the priest does two things. He's not a completely strange unit, because while he does have an ability, we are already used to units that have abilities, courtesy of the mage from the previous mission and the mage from this mission that attacked us over here. Also, when we see his ability, we're going to see that it's not too strange what his ability is, because it reminds us very much of what existed in the previous mission. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to use that healing ward. Notice we find the selection area and we click it, and it's very much the same as the healing ward that we already had in the previous mission. With this and maxed upgrades, we're now just going to go and attack. We've obviously taken about 3 or 4 more minutes than is even really necessary, but we're going to go ahead and do it all the same. And by do it, I mean just absolutely wreck everything. So one final thing I want to talk about before we turn this away, for those of you interested in the editor side of things. You may have noticed that this forge over here was not revealed to us despite the fact that it belongs to us. You would wonder how that's possible. If you set the vision field of anything to vision -1, then if it is in fog of war, it will not reveal itself to you. So even though this forge was not visible to us, should be visible to us because it belongs to us as player 1, we can select it, it's our building, vision of -1 meant that we would not be able to see it. Now, how can we see it now? Well, if you notice, we can see the area around it now, and it looks roughly as if, oh, we can see it, it has vision. Did they change the vision in the middle of it? Well, that's not likely. What's more likely, as we destroy the Dark Tower, is that as we got close to the forge, invisible birds were made that belong to us. Those birds, or soldiers, or other invisible units, have vision that they can see around them, and because we can't see them and they're not selectable, we can't find them. So that's one way you can get around the trick of giving someone no vision and then giving them vision later. Well, I hope that was interesting, and it was a bit long-winded, but both the vtesters tutorials are excellent, and I thought it was worth the time to go through them. So we're going to turn this off, and when I come back, we're going to go to the first mission of the campaign.